What's good, Fatherhood? Welcome to Uncommon Chats. We're going to go live with Mr. Elliott Hulse here in just a moment. As you know, my mission is to create the most powerful movement for you, for men, for husbands, to fathers, to provide you with the tools, the insight, the wisdom, the practices necessary for you to rise above the status quo, above the same shit, different day, mediocre life where we're just like, yeah, this is good, but we know that we're leaving things on the table. We know that we're leaving life on the table. And I want to provide you with everything that you need so that you can show up at 110%, elevate you to the level of legacy making, cycle breaking legend of fatherhood. And that is why we're bringing Mr. Elliott Hulse on here today. Let's get him in this room. Go. Welcome, sir. The legend himself, the king, Elliott Hulse. Just Elliott Hulse. Husband, father, and patriarch. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome, man. I'm so honored to have you here, and everyone here is going to have an awesome time because we're going to talk about really important stuff. One, I knew you back in the day as a powerlifting and strongman legend. And then Paul Chek launched his podcast, Living 4D. And you came on there and I was like, great. I know about Elliott. Really want to see what Elliott's up to. And blew my mind because you came on there and you were talking about men's work. And I was like, wow, this is so interesting. This is not at all what I expected. And absolutely blew my mind with what you came on and what you shared with us. And I'm curious, like, why men's work with everything that you had going on? Like, why that? What drew you to that? Why was that important for you to start sharing this message?
I've always done men's work. I'm the oldest of four boys. I was captain of the football team. I was, head gang leader of all the boys growing up. And when I became a personal trainer, by no stretch of my own, all my clients happen to be men. And so I'm training athletes, and all the football players are all men. All the basketball players are all men. Everybody at my gym, it's all men. I make YouTube videos. 97% of who's watching me are men. So I didn't choose this. I didn't say, oh, I'm going to do men's work. I don't even know what that word means. That's like that doesn't mean anything to me. This is who I am. I make men strong. I've been doing it literally since I was in elementary school. Kids would come over to my house and I would teach them how to do push-ups and sit-ups, and we're lifting, we're doing stuff. And so that's God's plan for me. It's who I am. It's not what I do, it's who I am.
It's the calling, man. So making men strong, make men strong again. You just wrote a book on that. You just wrote a book on that. How do we become strong again, man? And why is it important for us to become strong again? What happened?
Well, a big part of it has to do with the lack of fatherhood, the destruction of the family. And the family has been in decline over the past 70 years or so. And I'm of the opinion that it is a deliberate attack on our culture, Western culture in particular. But the way you destroy a culture is by destroying the family. And the way you destroy the family is the way you destroy any organism with a head. You chop it off. And so Antonio Gramsci was one of the founders of cultural Marxism, essentially, said that in order for Marxism to take fold in the West, they had to do two things. They had to de-Christianize the West. That means remove God the Father and turn the culture atheistic. And they needed to remove the father from the home. So they had to destroy fathers. And when you remove the head, there's no meaning. If you remove God from a society, and Western civilization is built on Christendom, for the past 2,000 years, you remove that, well, then you get what we have today, which is a bunch of people who have no meaning, no values. Everything is up for grabs. There's nothing very stable to rely on or to believe in. And so when people have no meaning, that means life has no meaning. And so we end up with, abortion, and we end up with murder and euthanasia, and the way we treat each other and the way that the system treats us is like we're pieces of meat. So that's a result of not having God the Father in our world. We're just a bag. I'm just a bag of bones. I have no soul. And removing the father from the home is what has got us into this mess where gender confusion is actually a thing. You know, if a boy is a clean slate. A boy is a clean slate, not like a woman. A woman is imprinted with her femininity because both a boy and a girl come from the same place. We both come from mommy. We both come from mommy. A girl doesn't come from mommy and a boy comes from daddy. We both come from mommy. And so the girl, each of them, the boy and the girl, both have a crisis, ego separation crisis. So I am not my mom. Wow, I mean that is a crisis. That's a love object relation loss. And so that happens once for a girl, and then she goes on. Oh, I am just like the thing I came from. But a boy is not like his mom. He has a second crisis, but that crisis is mitigated by having a father. Oh, I'm not like my mom. Even though I have all my mom's emotions, I have the feelings like my mom, I might think like my mom, I come from my mom, I'm clothed in her freaking flesh, I am not a woman. And with that, he now needs a pattern. Even the word father, paternity, comes from the word pattern. He needs a pattern. What am I now going to pattern myself after? A woman doesn't have to pattern herself after anything. She is the material. That's where the word mother, material, maternity, that's a woman. She's of the material. She is like the material that she comes from. The boy is not. He has to pattern himself after something. And if there's no father there, he's going to pattern himself after his mother. In fact, in many homes, lots of homes, maybe even 50% of homes in America today, boys are patterned after their moms. They think, act, and behave. And if they're not being deliberately patterned after their mothers, meaning, if the woman doesn't, if a mother doesn't have, or a wife doesn't have a husband, she doesn't know any better. She's going to do what's natural to her, which is, okay, well, I have a little girl here with a penis. So you got we have a generation, essentially, maybe about 3 generations, where there's no father, or if there is a father, he's weak, and he's a beta male because his father was a beta male, and he doesn't know any better. The music, the movies, the media is filled with all kinds of blue pill beta male simp ideas. The music is all about, how much vagina can I get, or being addicted to women. Oh, heartbreak, all that bullshit. So men are soft, they're weak, they're chasing women, they're addicted to dopamine. We're watching pornography and jerking off to digital women. And when we see a real woman in real life, we project that digital image on them, so we don't even know how to react or relate to women. And then we go to school, and school is mostly run by women. It's totally feminized. Even the men, most male teachers, for the most part, are feminized because they have no choice. They're living in a sweet sea of estrogen. So it's we live a lot of, one of the rallying cries of feminism was smash the patriarchy. Well, if that's what they were trying to do since Seneca Falls in 1890s, they've succeeded because we live in a matriarchy. We live in a woman-ruled world, and that's why we have. Most people don't understand this, but feminism is the root of LGBTism and gender confusion and all the genital mutilation that we have going on. That's a feminist idea. You would call that. Some people call it third wave feminism, but it's transsectionalism. And so it's how many, and going even further back, the root of that is communism, right? How can we chop everyone down? Let's chop off all the dicks and make everybody genderless. Well, that's a communist idea. That's a flattening out. We need to all be the same. And the way you get that is by creating victim classes, oppressive class. You're oppressed, so now everybody has to bow down and kowtow to your mental problem. You have a dick, but you think you're a woman. But I would say that that's not like a genetic thing, or that's not something that happened by accident. That's been programmed into our culture. That's been programmed through the TV. They're teaching this to the children. So it's a mess. It's a fucking mess. It's a big mess.
Yeah, it's definitely a fucking mess, for sure, man. And I'm 100% on board with what you're saying, man. You know, we incubate for 9+ months, 9 months and some days inside of the mother's womb. All that you have is connection to the field of mama. Like, you know, that blueprint. You have to be lucky enough to have a present father, an engaged father that pulls you into manhood in order to actually get connected to what manhood, masculinity actually is, to get programmed with that blueprint, that archetype, that field. And, you know, I work so hard to operate with Hamlin's razor and try not to attribute to malice what can be attributed to stupidity. And at the same time, we've been removed from the home. Industrial revolution, dads are no longer working for themselves. The kids are no longer seeing dad work or working alongside him. There's no apprenticeship for these boys with father anymore. He's gone all the time. And we lose that connection. We don't have that model anymore. And now we have this epidemic of fatherless homes, or fathers that are showing up so deeply in their femininity that they're not really bringing that forward. And now we have this massive problem. And the more that I look at it, the more I'm like, I just can't believe that this is just stupidity, that we just accidentally made this mistake. Man.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And masculinity is also denigrated. To me, I disagree. This is an attack. It's a cultural attack.
Yeah.
Antonio Gramsci, as well as Mark Lukács, they understood these were Bolsheviks, right? And what did they want to do? They wanted to take over Western civilization, but they just couldn't, because the bombs and the bullets weren't enough. Western civilization was strong. America was strong. So they understood that the battleground was the culture. This is not a mistake. This is ideological subversion. I think there's a popular video that's going around for a couple of years with Yuri Bezmenov. When he's a KGB defector who was talking about, like, you guys don't understand. You're under an ideological subversion, and those who sought to subvert us, now they're about 60% of our Congress. They own most of the media. Hollywood is run by these people. The education department is run by them. So the enemy essentially infiltrated and subverts the entire culture. And you know that the attack is against, well, I mean, you could say straight, white, Christian males. I mean, that's the ultimate enemy to this, to the enemy. But just look at how men are denigrated on television and in the movies, you know what I'm saying? So it's not like, oh, we're just silly. No, we're under attack. We're silly for taking the bait. But you know, what could you do? You grow up in it's like when they put a frog in the boiling water and they turn it up slowly. Like, you just don't know. I didn't know I was a beta male. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know that when I was a kid growing up, I was a mama's boy. I thought I was tough because I played football. Didn't take, many years later, I realized, oh man, I'm a big sissy. Even though I'm big and tough, I have the mind of a woman. I can't help it.
Yeah. I grew up just single mom. My parents were divorced, and like, I didn't realize that until I was in my 30s. Right. And I was like, oh, I need to go seek out initiation into manhood and then figure that shit out. We shouldn't have to deal with that. So like, I'm willing to walk into battle for that, for what you're saying. And I think that's what the powers that be are afraid of. So how do we bring this masculinity back online? Like, what are the things that we need to do? I know you write about this stuff in your book. Like, what do we need to do to elevate ourselves, to become men again, to become strong again, and then to show up powerfully for ourselves, for our wives, for our kids, and for the world? What do we need to do?
Well, the very first thing we got to do is stop tolerating bullshit from women who think that they're men. That's a big part of the problem, because relationships are polarized. Men are acting like big sissies, like women, and the women now, they don't trust us, which I don't blame them. Why would you trust a man that acts like a woman? Women don't trust other women. So why would they trust a man that acts like a woman? The minute you start showing female qualities, she is either going to totally resent you and distrust you, or she sees an opportunity. I can walk all over this guy, right? So the very first thing is that we have to stop tolerating bullshit from women. And this is not an anti-woman talk. I have 3 teenage daughters. I married my high school girlfriend. I love women. I love my mom. But we got to understand that they're only getting away with what we've decided to let them get away with. We are the stronger sex, however you want to look at it. But that's easier said than done in a culture that venerates promiscuity, contraception, fornication, adultery, and divorce. Those are the tools by which feminism got hold of the masculine. We're trapped by the vagina, literally. That's what the 1960s sexual revolution was all about. It wasn't as much about liberating sexuality and giving women liberation. It had to do a lot with entrapping, ensnaring men into sexual vice. So there is no rise for men if you're watching pornography. As long as you're blowing your load and lowering your vitality daily by watching screen sex, you're a slave. You're a slave to your sexuality, and you're a slave to women or the image of women. As long as contraception and fornication and free love is a thing, men will always be chasing where they're going to get that pleasure. It's like a drug. Most guys who think that they love women don't love women. They don't love women. They love the drug between their legs. That's what they love. So there's no love for women. There's no leadership for men, and there's no love for women as long as there's contraception. And listen, I'm not denigrating anybody. I grew up in this. I contracepted my whole life. That's how I ended up with my wife, right? But that's a trap. God's grace put me to where I am. I didn't do anything about that. But most of the guys that I see that are struggling out there, in one way, shape, or form, it has to do with sexual addiction. It has to do with women. If you cut off, or you step away from, or create separation from your need to blow your load, you are a man that's unstoppable. If I don't need vagina, I don't need sex, I don't need pornography, I don't need to blow my load, I can retain my semen, and I can allow that to vitalize my prowess so that I can go do great things in the world. Problem solved. Stop fucking women. Problem solved.
Mm-hmm. Stop wasting the energy, because what happens right afterwards? You're soft. Oh, I just want to sit here. There's nothing. There's nothing for you to show up with.
Right. And she knows that she has you by the collar. She has you by the leash, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, where are you going? What are you doing? Who are you talking to? You're not going to get my drug if you don't do what I say. Mm-hmm. And then divorce. I mean, we could go on and on. Divorce is a mess. And of course, you're a byproduct of it. But in some states, up to 90% of divorces are initiated by women. Divorce isn't about equality. It's about power.
Mm-hmm. So what can we do to show up? Well, to reclaim our masculinity, stop tolerating bullshit from the women walking around and think they're men. Develop a real relationship with real women, and stop fucking using pornography and blowing your load and literally blowing your energetic essence. Like, this is what you penetrate the world with. This is how you make things that are bigger than yourself. And if you're jacking off and blowing your load, like, there's nothing for you to show up and create with in the world. They got you where they want you.
Right.
What else, man? What else can we do?
Well, sexual dynamics is everything. You know that. You know, everything is yin yang. Everything is male, female. So as long as the sexual dynamics are off, we're screwed. The problem is with sexual dynamics is that the truth about sexual dynamics and the laws of sexual dynamics aren't always pleasing to the modern ego. We don't like to hear the truth. You know, this is why they call it red pill. It's like, you're sure you want to take that? Because once you take that pill, you can't go back, because now you see it everywhere. You see gynocentrism everywhere. You see right through the matrix. It literally is. The word matrix, right, come from material, matter, mother, right? It's all the same thing. So once you take that, you can't go back. You'll see it all, and it could be daunting. But once, I don't know, you know what? First of all, we can't fix this. It's never been done before. There is a study, I forget the name of the author, but I did an interview with a good friend of mine, and he was talking about how it was a liberal guy, scientist, and he wanted to sort of he was delving into the rise and fall of civilizations and sexuality, and he hated to see this, but he published it because it was true that every civilization, as it's about to crumble and fall, becomes feminist. Women rise in power. There's free sex. Every civilization. The guy hated the fact that he had to publish it, but he was a true scientist. So he was like, look, every society, it rises on masculinity, falls on matriarchy. And so we're just going through a cycle that has been experienced. I mean, as far back as the Old Testament, just look at Ahab and Jezebel. I mean, like, yeah, when a man, and look at the garden, when a man, Adam, listened to his wife. Literally, that's what God says. The scripture says, because you listen to your wife, curses the ground that you walk on. Now, what is that? That's a very uncomfortable thing to talk about. It's a very uncomfortable postmodern mindset to adopt. But it's based on historical patterns. It's based on biology. There's a place for a man and there's a place for a woman. Once we start doing this, the society is done. So as far as trying to save America or save Western civilization, it's done. We're not going back. Cat's out the bag. You go tell all these guys stop having sterile transient sex with these girls. They're not. Right? We're already screwed. But the remnant, those of us who are aware of what's going on and we're paying attention, guys like yourself, the only way that this is going to start a small ember, a little smoke, a little rising, as it did with, this is the pattern also. The pattern, if you just look at like the fall of the Roman Empire, it was the church that sent the monks, Saint Benedict, out into the woods where they just became, they lived in monasteries. That like saved the culture. But every home is like a mini church. Every home is a microcosm. So it has to be a return to the family. If you're watching this, and I get it, women are tough to deal with. All right, I guess I'm lucky in a way, but if you find a wife, not a woman, you need a wife. Not a lot of women want to get married. A lot of women want the trappings of marriage, but they don't want to be a wife. You got to be looking for a wife. When you go out and you're dealing with women, don't put your dick in a woman that you don't think could be a wife. Not a mother. Not any of them could be a mother. Blow a load in her makes her a mother. To be a wife requires certain characteristics. If you find a wife, first of all, thank your lucky stars. I mean, that's the most amazing thing ever. You're very lucky to have a wife. Not a woman, not a mother, a wife. And if you have that, you have the beginnings of cultivation for the revival of society. Meaning now within your home, you can cultivate these traditional values. You're right. Like I said, I have 3 daughters, and I'm not going to tell you it's been easy, but they see their mother. If I didn't have a beautiful relationship with my wife, it would be much more difficult to raise 3 daughters in a virtuous way. But they see her, they see me. We talk to them about right and wrong. We show them where the culture is steering people wrong. Right? They've gone down certain routes, and they want to fight with us. Oh, this is what everybody else is doing, but they come around. Because we stick around, and it's not one of these things where, oh, dad says this is bad, but mom is like, oh, this is great. I can't imagine these homes where the parents are not on the same page. Mom thinks it's okay. Dad thinks it's a bad idea. Well, guess what? It's not going to stick. It's not going to work. So you need You need two. You need a husband and a wife, and they got to be on the same page, 100% in everything you do. From spirituality and religion right down to what they do with their bodies and what they believe about sexuality. Everything, you have to be lined up completely. I'm not saying that you have to be carbon copies of each other, but you have to have the same values. When the parents have the same values, the children will have a steady foundation, and then you can start talking about family. Like, so for example, I have 3 daughters. I'm so counterculture because we'll go places and the first thing they ask teenage kids is like, oh, where are you going to college? And my kids aren't going to college. They knew from the time they were a kid, they ain't going to college. I'm not going to go send them off to some university, get run through by a bunch of football players. That's not going to happen. I'm not going to, and I'm going to pay for that. And then you come back with feminist ideas. No. So they knew from a long time ago that they weren't going to college. Not only that, and this, I'm going to sound like the biggest misogynist, and I don't even care.
Do it.
My gift or my dream for my daughters is not that they become CEOs, not that they become high-profile entrepreneurs, not that they become professional athletes, not that they become strong, independent women. I want for my daughters to find great husbands and be great wives and mothers. And they know that. They love that now that they've gotten past the bullshit. But I had to explain that to them. It's not a sexist thing. It's not a misogynist thing. That's biology. You will not be happy if you chase material gain and prowess and trying to elevate yourself above men, rather than doing what you're called to do, because only you can do it, which is to bear children and raise children. What a beautiful job. The best thing. That is the most important thing that can happen in a society. That's why men do what they do. The only reason why men do what we do, the only reason why men lead, the only reason why men are aggressive and strong and powerful is so that we can protect. I want to protect the women. Please, like, let it be okay. Just relax. Make your babies, right?
Yeah.
But they think they want something else, but then they end up being, 60 years old, no babies, no family, and they just got they got cats and wine. It's sad.
100%, man. And I can definitely reinforce what you're saying in that my wife, all that I want for her, like all that I want in life is like her to just relax into her feminine and just fucking serve the way that she was put here to serve as her amazing feminine self, raising our beautiful children and teaching them. Like, we're going to homeschool them for similar reasons to what you said too.
Right.
And not so that they can like go get these crazy cool jobs, but so that they can be those examples for their families. Because ultimately, I want them to be happy, man. And she couldn't do that until I started showing up.
Right.
And I let go of like the feminist bullshit that I was indoctrinated into, that I almost went and got a minor in women's studies until like they all pointed at me in the class. They're like, you're the problem. And I was like, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel right. Like, right? I remember sitting in that classroom and being like, this is fucking wrong. But until we start showing up and like being assertive, that's what Adam let go. He was like, yeah, wife, Eve, go ahead. You get to be assertive here. And then after she ate the apple, he hid. Right? And that's yeah. He's like, let me have this and then let me hide because I'm naked. Right? That's what the punishment is for. It's time for us to step back up, man. So I'm going to get you out of here because you got to break fast. Super important thing to do. Wrapping this up, where can we find you? It's obvious, but lay that out there. And then like, what can we get involved in with you right now?
Just follow me here if you're interested in the things that I'm talking about. You're on Instagram, so I'm not going to send you to YouTube, but I'm a YouTuber. That's how most people know me. So if I want to check me out, Strength Camp on YouTube, Elliott Hulse on YouTube. But I'm here. I'm here on Instagram. If you like what I'm talking about, stick around.
Awesome. Thank you, Elliott. It's been an honor, man. Appreciate you. And have an uncommon day, brother.
Sweet.
Peace.
Thank you. Peace.